She waited until he stood up. Not when he looked away, not when he smiled at the waiter. Only when his back turned and he disappeared down the narrow hallway toward the restroom. Her fingers were already shaking beneath the table. Emma Brooks kept her face calm, relaxed, almost bored. Then she lifted her hand just slightly and curled her fingers inward, folding her thumb into her palm. 2 seconds. That was all. At a nearby table, a man with steel-gray eyes noticed. He didn't react, didn't shift, didn't even blink, but he saw it. Emma lowered her hand, reached for her glass, and took a sip of iced water she didn't want. Her stomach was tight, like something heavy had settled there and refused to move. The restaurant was loud, jazz music, laughter, plates clinking, but it all felt distant, muffled, as if she were underwater. She didn't look toward the hallway. She'd learned not to do that. A moment later, Jason came back smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. "Hey," he said easily, sliding into his seat. "You okay?" He reached for her hand. She pulled back a fraction too fast, too obvious. She covered it by adjusting her hair, forcing a small smile. "I'm fine." "Relax," Jason said quietly, his voice warm, almost gentle. "We're having a good night." To anyone watching, he was perfect. Clean shirt, confident posture, friendly eyes. He asked about her work, told a joke to the couple next to them, lifted his glass in a casual toast. But when he leaned closer, his voice changed. "Stop acting strange," he whispered, "or we're leaving. And you know what happens when you embarrass me." Emma kept her eyes on her plate. "I said I'm fine." At table 9, the gray-eyed man raised 2 fingers toward the waiter. It looked casual. It wasn't. Moments later, a bottle of sparkling water appeared at Emma's table. "Compliments of the house," the waiter said. Jason frowned slightly, then shrugged. "Well, don't mind if we do." The waiter returned again, and again, a small delay here, an extra question there, a check that needed clarification. Each interruption bought Emma seconds to breathe. At the neighboring table, the gray-eyed man leaned slightly toward the man beside him. "Not inside," he said calmly. "Let him walk her out." The other man nodded once. Jason paid the bill and stood, pulling out Emma's chair with exaggerated politeness. His hand brushed her waist, just a bit too tight to be accidental. She didn't react. She picked up her purse and walked beside him toward the exit. The hostess smiled. "Good night." Outside, the street was quiet. Warm light spilled from the restaurant windows onto the sidewalk. Jason stopped just past the door. He turned toward Emma with a smile that didn't touch his eyes. "You made me look stupid in there," he said softly. "I didn't do anything." "You did," he replied. He took her wrist, not hard, not gentle, just enough. He angled her slightly toward the dark space beside the window like he was adjusting her necklace. He wasn't. His fingers locked around her skin. Then a voice cut through the moment. "Evening." The man from the restaurant stood a step closer than polite. He didn't rush, didn't threaten. He simply occupied space. Jason looked at him, then at the tattoos along his hand, then noticed, too late, how 2 other men had drifted into place along the sidewalk. "Can I help you?" Jason asked. "You're holding her," the man said calmly. Jason released Emma's wrist instantly. Reflex, not choice. "I'm not holding anyone," Jason said with a laugh. "We're leaving." He reached for Emma's elbow again, lighter this time. The gray-eyed man didn't move. "You're done for the night," he said. Jason's smile faded. "Mind your business." "She asked for help," the man replied. "That makes it mine." Jason laughed sharply. "Is that right?" Before the gray-eyed man could answer, one of his men spoke, voice bored and even. "You're going to step back, apologize, and leave alone. he said, nodding toward a small black dome under the awning. Or you're going to make a scene on camera. Jason looked up, then back at the men blocking his path. He smiled again, because smiling was what he did when he was angry. Fine, he said, releasing Emma completely. We'll talk later. No, the gray-eyed man said. You won't. Jason glared at Emma. Call me when you're done being dramatic. He turned, flagged a ride, and slammed the door behind him. The car disappeared down the street. Silence settled. Emma's throat felt tight. She looked at the man who had stepped in. You saw me? She asked quietly. Yes. I didn't think anyone would. You asked, he said. I don't ignore that. She swallowed. Thank you. He glanced at her wrist, red marks already forming. Do you have a ride? I'll order one. Here, he said. Wait by the door. She hesitated. I don't want more trouble. You won't have any, he replied. Not tonight. As she ordered the ride, she didn't see the black sedan stop 2 cars behind hers. She didn't know it was there for her, not against her. And the man with gray eyes, Daniel Moretti, watched the street with a calm that hid something darker beneath. This wasn't over, not even close. Emma didn't touch her phone until she was inside the car. The doors locked automatically with a soft click, and only then did her shoulders drop a fraction. The driver glanced at her through the rearview mirror. You all right, miss? She nodded. Yeah, I will be. The car pulled away from the curb, melting into traffic. She stared out the window, watching the city slide past. Neon signs, late-night buses, couples laughing on corners. Normal life, the kind she hadn't felt part of in a long time. Her phone buzzed. Jason. Then again. She flipped it face down and rested both hands on her lap, forcing herself to breathe slowly. In. Out. Count to 4. Behind them, a black sedan stayed 2 cars back. Never closer. Never farther. Emma didn't notice it. Daniel Moretti watched the taillights ahead of him without blinking. Keep distance, he said quietly from the back seat. I don't want her feeling followed. The driver nodded. Beside Daniel, his right-hand man, Marcus, checked his phone. He circled the block, Marcus said, then parked. He's watching her building. Daniel's jaw tightened slightly. Eyes on him. No contact unless he moves. And if he does? Daniel didn't hesitate. You stop him. The sedan slowed as Emma's ride pulled up to her building. She scanned the entrance instinctively, heart ticking faster. Everything looked normal. Too normal. She paid, thanked the driver, and stepped inside. The doorman nodded. Evening, Miss Brooks. The elevator doors closed, cutting off the street. Across the road, Jason stood half hidden in a doorway, hood pulled low, phone in his hand. He didn't follow her in. He waited. Half a block away, Marcus leaned against a lamppost, pretending to scroll through messages. Another man sat in the sedan, engine off. The street breathed quietly. Daniel checked his watch. He didn't like loose ends. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number he didn't enjoy using. Detective Harris, a voice answered. Moretti, Daniel said. You'll have footage in your inbox in 10 minutes. Street camera outside La Veranda, man grabbing a woman's wrist. A pause. And why are you helping me do my job? Harris asked. Because she asked for help, Daniel replied. Then he ended the call. Inside her apartment, Emma locked the door and leaned against it for a long moment. Her legs felt weak. She filled a glass with water and left it untouched on the counter. Her phone lit up again. A message from Jason. Then another. Then 3 missed calls. She powered the phone off. Silence settled around her like a blanket. For the first time that night, her breathing slowed. She didn't see the motorcycle pass her building. Didn't notice the black sedan idling down the block. She went to bed thinking it was over. She was wrong. The next morning, Emma woke to sunlight cutting across the floor. For a brief moment, she felt normal. Then she remembered. She reached for her phone, hesitated, then turned it on. Messages flooded in, apologies, accusations, promises, threats wrapped in soft words. She blocked Jason's number, unblocked it, blocked it again. Her hands shook. Then a new message appeared. Unknown number, no text, just a video. Her stomach dropped as she pressed play. The footage showed the sidewalk outside the restaurant. Jason's hand closing around her wrist, her flinch. Then Daniel stepping into frame. The video ended. Another message followed. If he contacts you again, report it. Save this as evidence. No name, no signature. Emma watched the clip twice more, then saved it, emailed it to herself, backed it up to the cloud. She typed a reply with trembling fingers. Thank you. Emma. No response came. She didn't expect one. Downstairs, the doorman looked up as she entered the lobby. Morning, Miss Brooks. Your delivery arrived. Delivery? He nodded toward a small table near the desk. A clear glass vase. White lilies. Simple. Elegant. A small card leaned against it. Emma stepped closer. 5 words written neatly. Sleep, eat, call if needed. No name. She turned the card over. A phone number was written on the back. Her breath caught. Who brought this? She asked. Courier, the doorman said. Left about 10 minutes ago. Outside, the air was crisp. Emma walked to the corner cafe and sat by the window, wrapping her hands around a cup of coffee she barely tasted. Her thoughts kept circling back to the night before. The signal, the stare, the way Daniel had stepped in without raising his voice and made everything stop. She'd been seen, not as a problem, as a person. Her phone buzzed. Lena, are you okay? I heard nothing from you last night, Emma typed back quickly. I'm okay. I'll explain later. Promise. She tried to work, answer emails, edit photos from a family shoot she'd done the previous weekend. Smiling kids, tired parents, honest moments. It grounded her. 2 hours passed. Then she stood to leave and saw him. Across the street, leaning against a low wall, a man in a dark hoodie stared at her building. Not the cafe, her building. Even from a distance, she recognized the posture. Jason. Her mouth went dry. Her phone buzzed instantly. Unknown number. Stay inside. Don't use the front door. Her heart slammed. She scanned the cafe. 2 tables away, a man in a gray jacket stood up, leaving his coffee untouched. He didn't look at her. He walked toward the back exit and held the door open. Emma hesitated only a second, then followed. The alley behind the cafe smelled like rain and trash. Who are you? She asked, voice tight. This way, Miss Brooks, the man said calmly. The alley opened into a private parking strip. A black sedan idled at the far end. The back door opened. Daniel Moretti sat inside, jacket off, sleeves rolled, eyes sharp, like he hadn't slept. You sent the flowers, Emma said. I did. And the video? Yes. She stopped a few feet away. He didn't step out. The distance stayed there on purpose. He's across the street, she said. I know, Daniel replied. He won't be there long. How do you know? Because a patrol car. Will pass in about 2 minutes, he said evenly. He doesn't like witnesses. Emma swallowed. You called the police. I sent evidence, Daniel corrected. They do the rest. She shook her head slightly. You don't have to do this. I already am. Silence stretched. Then he spoke again. 2 options, Daniel said. 1, I put distance between you and him until he stops trying. 2, you come somewhere safe for 48 hours. You rest. You decide what you want next. Emma looked down at her hands. For the first time in weeks, her chest felt open. Why are you like this? She asked quietly. Because I don't want you confusing me with him, Daniel said. And because when people look away, I don't sleep. A patrol car rolled past the corner. Jason stiffened, then turned away. The gray-jacketed man spoke softly. He's leaving. Daniel looked back at Emma. Choose. She could have said no. Pride told her to. Fear told her to. But exhaustion told the truth. 48 hours, she said. Daniel nodded once. Then we do this my way. They didn't waste time. Emma slid into the back seat beside a woman she hadn't noticed before. Short hair, athletic build, calm eyes. I'm Rachel, the woman said quietly. I'll be with you. Daniel closed the door himself, gently like she was made of glass, then walked around to the other side of the car. The sedan pulled away. Emma watched the city blur past again, but this time she wasn't alone with her thoughts. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere quiet, Rachel replied. You'll like it. Daniel didn't turn around. First, we stop by your place. Emma stiffened. No, I don't want to go back there. You won't be alone, he said, and I won't touch anything without your permission. Rachel added, You'll be on video the entire time. Emma hesitated, then nodded. The building came into view far too quickly. Rachel stayed with Emma in the lobby while Daniel took the elevator alone. Rachel held up her phone, already on a video call. You can see everything, she said. You tell him what to pack. Emma watched Daniel knock. Wait. Then accept a key from the doorman. He moved through her apartment like a guest in a museum. Careful, precise. Gray sweater, Emma said. Jeans, sneakers, the blue jacket in the closet. He held each item up to the camera before placing it in the bag. Bathroom? He asked. Yes, just the basics. He never opened a drawer she didn't mention. When he reached the top shelf of the closet, he paused. There's a photo album, Emma said quietly. White cover, please bring that. Daniel nodded and retrieved it. Then he froze. Emma, he said calmly, don't panic. Her stomach dropped. What? There's someone in the hallway. Rachel straightened instantly. Send the car to the back, she said into her comm. Daniel set the bag down without a sound and stepped into the shadow beside the wall. The video feed shook slightly, then went dark. Emma's heart slammed. I can't see him, she whispered. Rachel placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Listen. A muffled voice echoed through the phone. Jason's voice. You think you can hide from me? Emma's hands went ice cold. Then another sound. A sharp breath. A collision with the wall. A heavy thud. Silence. The video returned. Jason lay face down on the floor, wrists bound behind his back with a zip tie. Daniel stood over him, breathing steady. You're done, Daniel said evenly. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I'm coming down, Daniel added. In the lobby, Emma stood on shaking legs. The elevator dinged. Daniel stepped out first, scanning the space automatically. He handed the bag to Rachel, then turned to Emma. You okay? She nodded, unable to speak. What happens now? She finally asked. Detective Harris picks him up, Daniel said. An outstanding warrant. Tonight buys us time. Emma swallowed. I don't want to run. Daniel met her eyes. Then we don't. They drove to a condo overlooking the river, secure garage, private elevator, no flashy decor, just clean lines and quiet space. Rachel showed Emma the guest room, fresh sheets, lock on the door, a small note on the nightstand. This room is yours. Emma ran her hand over the duvet. I don't know how to do this, she said. Rachel smiled faintly. Start with a shower, then food. When Emma came out, hair damp, wearing her sweater and jeans. The apartment smelled like garlic and tomatoes. She stopped in the doorway. Daniel stood at the stove, sleeves rolled up, stirring a pot. The image didn't match the man from the sidewalk, or the man who dropped Jason to the floor. "I cook when I don't like the day," he said without turning. "Sit." She sat at the counter. He served her a bowl and placed bread between them. Sparkling water appeared by her hand. He sat across from her, not too close. She took a bite, warm, simple, grounding. "Thank you," she said. "You're welcome." They ate mostly in silence. When her hands shook around the glass, Daniel looked away. When she slowed, he didn't rush her. When she finished, he reached for the bowl and then paused. "May I?" "Yes." He rinsed the dishes. She watched his hands, scarred, steady. "How long?" he asked quietly. "With Jason?" "Yes." "A year," Emma said. "The beginning was good, then it changed." Daniel nodded once. "It doesn't change back." "I know," she replied. He turned to face her. "You don't owe me details," he said. "You don't owe me anything." Emma met his gaze. "I just don't want to be doubted." "I believe you," Daniel said. The words landed solid and real. A buzz came from the intercom. Rachel answered, listened, then looked over. "Detective Harris is here." Emma tensed. Daniel's voice stayed calm. "Bring him up." Detective Mark Harris entered with 2 officers. He looked at Emma first. "Ms. Brooks," he said, "you're safe." "Yes." He nodded, then turned to Daniel. "You always complicate my mornings." "You got the video," Daniel said. "I did," Harris replied. "We picked him up downstairs. He'll be out eventually, but not today." Emma exhaled. Harris handed her a card. "New phone, new locks. Advocate will call you. You choose what happens next." She took it. "Thank you." Harris glanced at Daniel. "Don't make me regret this." "Do your job," Daniel said. "I'll do mine." As Harris turned to leave, Rachel's phone buzzed. Her expression changed. "Daniel," she said quietly, "we've got a problem." She handed him the phone. A photo filled the screen. Emma leaving the cafe that morning, a red circle drawn around her wrist. Text underneath. She looked scared. Emma felt the room tilt. Daniel set the phone down carefully. The calm in his eyes disappeared. 48 hours just changed, he said, and Emma knew whatever had started with a hand signal in a restaurant was now something much bigger. Emma didn't speak right away. Она просто смотрела на экран телефона, где ее страх был аккуратно обведен красным кругом. Как мишень. "Who is R?" she finally asked. Detective Harris answered instead of Daniel. "Richard Vale," he said. "Old money, new crimes. He doesn't like losing control." Daniel's voice was quiet but sharp. "He's been watching longer than we thought." Rachel folded her arms. "That photo wasn't random. He wants you to know he sees you." Emma forced herself to breathe. "He already did," she said, "at the restaurant." Daniel's eyes flicked to her. "What do you mean?" "The way Jason acted," Emma said. "Like he already felt protected. Like someone bigger was behind him." Silence settled. Harris exhaled slowly. "Vale uses people like Jason. Finds men who want power without earning it." Emma's stomach twisted. "So what now?" she asked. Daniel straightened. "Now we stop reacting." That night, Emma didn't sleep, neither did Daniel. The condo was quiet except for the city humming beyond the windows. Emma stood on the balcony wrapped in a borrowed jacket, watching the river lights ripple below. "You should be resting," Daniel said from behind her. She turned. "I could say the same to you." He stepped closer but stopped a few feet away. "Fear doesn't shut off," she said. "It just waits." Daniel leaned against the railing beside her. "That means you're still fighting," he replied. She studied his face, like one of the calm lines, the eyes that missed nothing. "How many times have you seen this?" she asked. Women like me? Too many, he said. People look away because it's easier. And you? She asked. I don't look away. Their eyes held. Not romantic. Not yet. Something heavier. Vale won't stop, Emma said. No, Daniel agreed. Men like him never do. She wrapped her arms tighter around herself. Then I don't want to hide. Daniel turned fully toward her. If you stay involved, you follow my rules. What kind of rules? You listen, you don't act alone. And if something feels wrong, you leave. No debate. And if it feels right? She asked quietly. He paused. Then we finish it. The next morning smelled like coffee and rain. Emma found a note on the counter. Meeting Harris. Back by noon. Don't open the door for anyone but Rachel. She smiled faintly. Someone thinking ahead for her still felt strange. Rachel joined her with 2 cups. Daniel's not wrong, she said. Vale escalates when he feels challenged. Emma nodded. Then he already feels it. Rachel studied her. You sure you want to stay in this? Emma thought of the red circle, of Jason's hand, of the signal. I'm done being scared, she said. Rachel's mouth curved slightly. Then you'll fit right in. Daniel returned before noon. His jaw was tight. Harris confirmed it, he said. Vale is hosting a private charity auction tomorrow night. Emma looked up. You're going? Yes. She didn't hesitate. So am I. Daniel stopped. No. I'm not asking, she said. Vale used me to send a message. Let me be part of the reply. He studied her for a long moment. You understand what kind of room that is? He asked. Yes. And that Vale will recognize you. Good. Silence stretched. Finally, Daniel exhaled. You don't scare easily. Not anymore. He nodded once. You stay with me, every second. That evening, Rachel helped Emma choose something simple. Black dress, no jewelry, clean lines. When Emma stepped into the living room, Daniel looked up. For a fraction of a second, he forgot how to speak. You'll blend in, he said quietly. That's the plan. He handed her an earpiece. If I say leave, you leave. And if you don't, then we walk together. The gallery buzzed with money, glass, marble, soft jazz. Emma rested her hand lightly on Daniel's arm as they entered. They looked like a couple. They weren't. Across the room, Richard Vale laughed with investors, polished and relaxed. Daniel leaned in. He sees us. Vale's eyes locked onto Emma. Recognition flickered, then satisfaction. Well, Vale said as he approached, smiling. If it isn't, Daniel Moretti. And Richard Vale, Daniel replied. Vale's gaze slid to Emma. You look familiar. Emma met his eyes without flinching. Daniel's hand settled at her back, a warning and a promise. You must be mistaken, Daniel said. Vale smiled wider. We'll talk later. As he walked away, Daniel's jaw tightened. He took the bait, Emma whispered. Yes, Daniel said. And now he thinks he's in control. Back at the condo, the tension hadn't left them. Daniel poured a drink. Emma sat on the couch, shoes kicked off. So, she asked, did we get what you needed? Yes, he said. He slipped. Harris will move soon. She watched him. You don't trust easily, she said. No. Do you trust me? He looked up. I do. The answer landed deeper than she expected. You watch me like I'll break, she said softly. I watch you because I don't want you to. Their eyes held. Too long. He stepped back first. You should rest. I'm not tired. A pause. Then eat something, he said, turning away. Emma smiled. He was terrible at hiding that he cared. The condo was too quiet for what they were facing. Emma sat at the kitchen island, fingers wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched in minutes. Outside, the river moved steadily, uncaring. Daniel stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes," he said. "Send it. Now." He ended the call and turned toward her. Vale made his move. Emma didn't ask how. "What did he do?" "He sent an invitation," Daniel replied. "Private. Not the auction. A meeting." Her chest tightened. "For you." "For us," he corrected. He slid his phone across the counter. A single message on the screen. "You brought her into my house, now bring her to mine. Location, time, tonight." Emma's pulse roared in her ears. "He wants to see if I'll break," she said. "He wants to see if I'll choose," Daniel answered. She lifted her gaze. "And will you?" Daniel didn't look away. "Yes." They drove in silence, not the comfortable kind, the kind filled with thoughts that had nowhere to go. The building Vale owned sat near the river, an old converted warehouse, all glass and steel washed in white light. Money without warmth. Daniel parked and turned to her. "If at any moment you want out, we leave." "And if I don't?" she asked. "Then stay close to me." She nodded. They walked in side by side. Vale was already waiting. 2 men flanked him, well-dressed, armed but discreet. "Daniel," Vale said warmly, "and Emma, I'm glad you came." "I'm not," Daniel replied. Vale smiled. "Honesty, I appreciate that." His eyes settled on Emma. "You look calmer tonight." Emma met his gaze. "I learned not to look down." Vale chuckled. "Good. Fear is such an ugly habit." Daniel stepped slightly in, front of her. "Say what you want." Vale lifted his hands. "Relax, this is a conversation." He gestured toward a seating area. They didn't sit. Vale noticed, amused. "Very well," he said. "Let's be quick." He turned to Emma. "Jason was a disappointment," Vale said casually. "Sloppy, emotional, but useful." Emma's jaw tightened. "You used him," she said. "I gave him permission," Vale corrected. "He liked that." Daniel's voice dropped. "You're done." Vale laughed softly. "You think this ends because you stepped in?" "Yes," Daniel said. "It ends because you made it personal." Vale's eyes flicked between them. "That's the problem," he said. "You did." He leaned closer. "People like you don't survive by caring." Daniel didn't move. "Watch me." Outside, rain began to fall. Inside, Vale's smile faded. "You have 48 hours, Vale said. "Walk away. Take her. Disappear." "And if we don't?" Vale's gaze returned to Emma. "Then everyone you love becomes visible." Silence hit hard. Emma felt it then. The shift. This wasn't intimidation, it was a promise. Daniel took a breath. "We're done here." Vale nodded. "For now." As they walked out, Emma's hands shook. Daniel noticed. He didn't touch her. Not yet. Back in the car, Emma finally exhaled. "That wasn't a meeting," she said. "No," Daniel agreed. "That was a line." She turned to him. "And we crossed it." "Yes," she swallowed. "I don't want him near anyone else because of me." Daniel's jaw tightened. "He already is," he said. "That's why we finished this." Later that night, Emma stood in the guest room doorway. "Daniel," she said quietly. He looked up. "I don't want to be protected like glass," she said. "I want to be trusted." He studied her face. "You already are." "Then stop deciding without me." A long pause, then he nodded. "All right." She stepped closer. The space between them felt electric now. No longer just tension, but something warmer, more dangerous. "If this goes wrong," she said softly, "we face it together." Daniel's voice dropped. "I won't let anything happen to you." "I know," she replied, "and that's why I'm not afraid." For the first time since they met, he reached out, not to shield, not to guide, but simply to hold her hand. And that changed everything. The first move came before dawn. Daniel was already awake when his phone vibrated on the nightstand. He didn't reach for it immediately. He listened first, to the building, to the city, to the quiet that told him nothing was wrong yet. Then he answered. "Talk," he said. Marcus's voice came through low and controlled. "We hit one of Vale's shell accounts, clean, quiet. Harris is moving on it now." "Good," Daniel replied. "Anything else?" A pause. Not long. Long enough. "He pulled 2 cars off surveillance near the condo," Marcus said. "He's repositioning." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. "He knows. He always does." Daniel ended the call and sat up. Across the room, Emma slept curled on her side, breathing slow and even for the first time in days. The morning light softened her face, made her look younger, safer. He watched her longer than he should have. Then he stood. By the time Emma woke, the condo was already in motion. Rachel was on a laptop at the dining table. Marcus stood near the window, speaking quietly into an earpiece. Daniel poured coffee. Emma joined him, still half asleep. "You didn't sleep," she said. "Enough," he replied. "That wasn't an answer." He gave her a small look. "You slept. That matters." She accepted the coffee, then noticed the tension in the room. "What happened?" Daniel didn't sugar it. "Vale is bleeding money," he said, "which means he'll bleed people next." Emma's grip tightened around the mug. "Me," she said. "Anyone connected to you," he corrected. Rachel closed her laptop. "We moved your digital footprint, new phone, new accounts. Your name won't show up anywhere public." Emma nodded. "And my studio?" "Closed for now," Daniel said. "Temporarily." She winced but didn't argue. "Okay," she said. "So what's next?" Daniel studied her for a second. "Now," he said, "we take something he can't replace." They didn't tell her everything, only what she needed. Emma stayed with Rachel while Daniel and Marcus left the building separately, minutes apart. No patterns, no rush. The city looked ordinary. Office workers, delivery trucks, joggers along the river. Daniel moved through it like a ghost. The target was a private data center Vale used, officially for art storage, unofficially for leverage. Photos, videos, records, power. Marcus disabled the alarm system remotely. Daniel went in alone. It took 12 minutes. When he came out, his face hadn't changed, but his eyes were sharper. "It's done," he said into the phone. That afternoon, Vale reacted. Not loudly, precisely. Emma was with Rachel in the living room when Daniel returned. He didn't sit. "He leaked something," Daniel said. "Not you, yet." Emma's heart kicked. "Who?" "A city councilman," Rachel said grimly. "Connected to Vale, now ruined." Emma swallowed. "He's sending a message." "Yes," Daniel replied. "He's telling me to stop." "And are you going to?" she asked. Daniel looked at her. "No." That night, the pressure turned inward. Emma stood at the window, staring out at the lights. "This is my fault," she said quietly. Daniel was behind her, not touching, giving her space. "No," he said. "This is his choice. He wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't—" Daniel interrupted gently but firmly. "If it wasn't you, it would be someone else. You just refuse to disappear." She turned toward him. "And you refuse to let me." "Yes." Silence stretched. "I'm scared," she admitted. Daniel nodded. "So am I." The honesty surprised her. "But fear doesn't decide," he added. "We do." She searched his face. "And if this costs you everything?" He didn't answer right away. "Some things are worth the risk," he said finally. Their eyes held, not a promise, a truth. Later, Emma found him on the balcony again. The city was quieter now. "You always come here when you're thinking," she said. "It helps me remember scale," he replied. "The city is bigger than any one man." She stepped beside him. "Even Vale?" Especially him. She hesitated, then spoke. If this ends badly, I don't regret asking for help. Daniel turned toward her fully. Neither do I. She exhaled, tension leaving her shoulders. Then whatever happens next, she said, I'm in. Daniel nodded once. Then you listen when I tell you to move, he said, and you trust me when I tell you to stop. And you trust me, she replied, when I tell you I'm not breaking. A faint smile touched his mouth. I already do. The call came just before midnight. Rachel answered it. Her face hardened. Vale just made his next move, she said. Daniel straightened. What? He invited the press, Rachel said. Tomorrow morning. He's going public. Emma's stomach dropped. With what? She asked. Rachel looked at her. With you. The press conference was scheduled for 9 a.m. Vale didn't hide it. He wanted eyes. He wanted witnesses. Emma stood in the bedroom staring at her reflection, barely recognizing herself. No makeup, simple clothes, hair pulled back. Normal. That was the point. Daniel watched from the doorway. They're not here for truth, he said. They're here for a story. Emma met his eyes in the mirror. Then let's give them the right one. He studied her for a long moment. This will be ugly, he said. Once it starts, we can't pull it back. I know. And he'll try to provoke you. I won't react, Daniel nodded slowly. Good. They arrived separately. Emma came with Rachel through a side entrance. Daniel stayed off-site, watching the feed from a secure location. Vale stood at the podium, perfectly calm. Polished suit, confident smile. Thank you all for coming, he said. I believe in transparency. Emma almost laughed at that. Vale spoke about charity, about abuse of power, about false accusations ruining good men. Then he said her name, Emma Brooks. The room stirred, cameras turned. Vale continued smoothly. A young woman recently attempted to manipulate events using a fabricated narrative, he said. I sympathize with her confusion. Emma's jaw tightened. She was influenced by dangerous people, Vale added. Men who profit from chaos. Daniel's voice came through Emma's earpiece. Stay steady, Vale finished by gesturing toward the back. And because I believe in openness, he said, I've invited her to speak. Every camera turned. Emma felt the weight of it hit her chest. Rachel squeezed her hand once. Emma stepped forward. She didn't rush, didn't shake. She stood at the microphone and let the silence work. My name is Emma Brooks, she said calmly, and I didn't come here to accuse anyone. Vale's smile flickered. I came here because people like Richard Vale rely on silence. A murmur spread through the room. Emma continued. I used a recognized distress signal in a public place because I was afraid, she said. Not confused, not manipulated. Vale leaned forward slightly. And when I asked for help, Emma said, someone listened. She didn't say Daniel's name. She didn't have to. Vale's smile hardened. Emma finished. I won't be silent so someone else can feel powerful. She stepped away. The room exploded with questions. Vale raised his hands, attempting control. Too late. Outside, Daniel watched the feed cut to chaos. Harris stood beside him. She held her ground, the detective said. Yes, Daniel replied. Now Vale will lose his. He did. Within the hour, stories broke. Old accusations resurfaced. Financial leaks followed. The data Daniel had taken began surfacing anonymously. Vale's press team scrambled. Emma sat in the car, phone buzzing nonstop. Messages of support, hate, fear. Her hands shook now. The crash after the adrenaline. Daniel got in beside her. He didn't speak at first. Just sat there. She turned to him. Did I do okay? He looked at her like the question hurt. You were unbreakable, he said. She exhaled, shoulders sagging. Good, she whispered, because I don't think I could do that again. That night, Vale retaliated, not with words, with action. Rachel burst into the room as Daniel and Emma ate in silence. Warehouse fire, she said. One of Vale's properties. Daniel stood instantly. Casualties? None, Rachel replied, but it's a warning. Emma felt the fear crawl back in. He's escalating, she said. Yes, Daniel replied, and he's running out of moves. She looked at him. That makes him dangerous. Daniel met her gaze. I know. Later, when the condo finally quieted, Emma found Daniel alone again. This time, he wasn't calm. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched at his sides. You didn't sign up for this, he said without looking at her. I chose this, she replied. You shouldn't have to be this brave. She stepped closer. You didn't ask if I was brave, she said softly. You asked if I was willing. He turned toward her. And are you? He asked. Yes. Something in his expression shifted. The wall cracked. He reached out, stopping just short of touching her face. This ends soon, he said quietly. One way or another. She nodded. Then don't shut me out now. A long breath. Then he pulled her into him. Not desperate, grounded, protective. For the first time, he let himself hold on. Rachel's voice interrupted from the hallway. Daniel, we've got movement. Daniel didn't release Emma immediately. What kind? Rachel hesitated. Vale left the city. Emma's stomach dropped. He's running, she said. Daniel shook his head. No, he said. He's repositioning. And what does that mean? Emma asked. Daniel's eyes hardened. It means the end game. Vale disappeared the way men like him always did, quietly, deliberately, leaving chaos behind as a distraction. He didn't leave the city, Marcus said over the secure line. He went underground. Daniel stood in the operations room, eyes fixed on the map glowing on the wall. Where? He asked. Marcus hesitated. We lost his primary signal near the docks. Emma felt her stomach drop. The river, she said. Daniel looked at her. That's where he keeps leverage. And where people vanish, Rachel added. Silence settled. Then Daniel spoke. He's setting a trap. They moved before Vale could reset the board. 2 vehicles, no sirens, no announcements. Rain had returned, slicking the streets and turning the city into reflections and shadows. Emma sat in the back seat beside Rachel, fingers clenched together. Daniel drove. You don't have to be there, he said without looking back. Emma's voice was steady. You don't get to decide that anymore. He didn't argue. That scared her more than if he had. The warehouse sat half-lit near the river's edge. Old steel, faded numbers. Too quiet. Daniel cut the engine. Stay behind me, he said. I know. They entered through a side door already forced open. Inside, the air smelled like oil and cold water. A single light burned near the center of the space, and beneath it, Emma froze. Lena, tied to a chair, bruised, alive. Emma's breath left her in a rush. Oh my God! Daniel raised a hand, stopping her. Don't move, he said quietly. Too late. A voice echoed through the warehouse. Touching. Vale stepped out from behind a stack of crates, gun in hand, smile intact. I knew you'd come, he said. You always do. Daniel didn't flinch. Let her go. Vale laughed softly. Still issuing orders. He gestured with the gun. She's leverage, he said. Just like she was. Emma's heart hammered. This is between you and me, Daniel said. It always was, Vale replied. She just made it interesting. He looked at Emma. You should have stayed quiet. Emma stepped forward despite herself. You should have listened when I asked for help. Vale's smile vanished. The gunshot came without warning, not aimed at them, at the floor. A message. Rachel moved instantly, dragging Emma behind cover. Daniel advanced one step. You're cornered, Daniel said calmly. Vale shrugged. Then let's make it memorable. He shoved Lena's chair, sending her crashing to the ground, then turned and ran toward the back exit. Daniel sprinted after him. Stay down, he shouted. Emma didn't. She broke from cover and ran to Lena, hands shaking as she worked the ties loose. It's okay, she whispered. I've got you. A second gunshot echoed, then a third. Emma's heart stopped. Daniel caught Vale near the loading bay. Rain poured through the open doors. They collided hard. Vale fired. The shot went wide. Daniel slammed him into a concrete pillar. The gun skidded across the floor. They fought without words, raw, violent, close. Vale reached for a knife. Daniel blocked, but not cleanly. Pain flared across his side. He grunted, but didn't fall. You think you're the hero? Vale hissed. Daniel drove his fist into Vale's jaw. I'm the consequence, Vale stumbled. Daniel hit him again and again until Vale went down, didn't get back up. Emma reached Daniel seconds later. You're bleeding, she said, hands already pressing against his side. I'm fine, he said automatically. You're not. Sirens wailed in the distance. Rachel's voice came through the comms. Police are 3 minutes out. Daniel nodded. Good. He looked down at Emma. Her face was pale, eyes fierce. You shouldn't have followed me, he said quietly. She shook her head, tears burning. You don't get to protect me alone. Something in his expression broke. Just a little. As the police lights flooded the warehouse, Daniel finally let himself sit. Emma stayed with him, hands still pressed to his side. Vale lay unconscious nearby, cuffed, finished. Harris arrived moments later, rain dripping from his coat. He took in the scene and shook his head. You ever consider a quiet life? He asked Daniel. Daniel looked at Emma. Not really. Harris turned to Emma. You okay? She nodded. I will be. He sighed. Then, let's end this. Outside, rain washed the blood from the concrete. Emma sat in the ambulance beside Daniel, holding his hand as medics worked. You scared me, she said softly. He squeezed her fingers weakly. Good, he murmured. Means you'd notice if I was gone. She smiled through tears. Don't do that again. I'll try, he said. The city lights blurred as the doors closed. Vale was finished. But what came after? That was still unknown. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and quiet. Machines hummed softly. Distant footsteps echoed in the hallway, but none of it felt urgent anymore. Daniel lay propped against white pillows, a bandage wrapped tight around his side. His color was better than it had been in the ambulance, but exhaustion clung to him like a second skin. Emma sat in the chair beside the bed, arms crossed, eyes fixed on him. You're awake, she said. I never fully went to sleep, Daniel replied. Bad habit, she huffed quietly. You got stabbed. He glanced down. It's more of a disagreement. She shook her head, but there was relief in it. You scared me, she said again, softer this time. Daniel studied her face. The tension still there, but something else too. Resolve, strength. I'm sorry, he said. The words surprised both of them. She blinked. You don't say that much, do you? No. But you meant it. Yes. Detective Harris arrived just after sunrise. He didn't sit. Vale's awake, he said. And talking. Daniel raised an eyebrow. That's new. Not really, Harris replied. Men like him talk when they finally understand the game is over. Emma's breath caught. Is Lena okay? She'll be fine, Harris said, shaken, angry, but alive. Emma closed her eyes, letting the tension drain. "And Jason?" she asked. Harris grimaced. "He took a deal, gave us names. It won't save him, but it'll shorten his sentence." Daniel nodded once. "Vale?" he asked. Harris's mouth tightened. "Federal charges, conspiracy, coercion, attempted murder. He's not seeing daylight for a long time." Silence settled. Then Harris looked at Daniel. "You're done," he said. "You walk away now." Daniel didn't answer. Harris sighed. "I mean it. No more shadows. No more playing both sides." Daniel glanced at Emma. She was watching him closely, waiting. Later that day, Emma stepped outside alone. The hospital courtyard was small, quiet, almost peaceful. She sat on a bench, hands folded in her lap, finally letting herself feel everything she'd been holding back. Fear, anger, relief. Footsteps approached. Rachel stopped a few feet away. "He's asking about you," she said. Emma smiled faintly. "Of course he is." Rachel leaned against the railing. "You know," she said, "he doesn't let many people this close." Emma nodded. "I figured." "And that scares him." Emma looked up. "It should." Rachel smiled once. "Take care of him." "I plan to," Emma said. That evening, Daniel was discharged, against medical advice. Emma didn't argue. They drove in silence back to the condo, the city passing by in soft evening light. Inside, everything felt different, safer, but fragile. Daniel lowered himself onto the couch, wincing slightly. Emma hovered, then stopped herself. "What now?" she asked. Daniel leaned back, eyes closing for a moment. "Now," he said, "I make a choice." She waited. "I can disappear," he continued. "Leave the city, let everything cool down." Her chest tightened. "Or?" she asked. "Or I stay," he said, "and try to be someone else." She studied him. "Someone else how?" "Someone who doesn't solve every problem with force," he said. "Someone who lets the past stay in the past." Emma swallowed. "And what do you want?" Daniel opened his eyes and looked at her. "I don't know how to be that man," he said honestly. "But I want to try." She stepped closer. "You don't have to do it alone." He let out a slow breath. "That's the part I don't know how to accept." Emma reached out, resting her hand gently over his. "Then learn," she said, "like I am." Their eyes held, not urgent, not desperate, real. That night, Emma slept in the guest room, not because of distance, because they both needed space to breathe. Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the quiet in a way he hadn't in years. For the first time, the silence didn't feel like a threat. It felt like possibility. The next morning, Emma made coffee. Daniel watched her from the doorway. Ordinary, simple, safe. "You don't have to stay," he said. She turned, surprised. "I know," she replied, but I want to." He nodded, accepting it without trying to control it. That mattered. Outside, the city moved on. News cycles shifted. Vale's name faded from headlines, replaced by the next scandal. But for Emma and Daniel, the real story was just beginning. Not about danger, about choice. Time didn't rush them after that. It slowed. Days passed without sirens, without urgent calls, without someone watching from across the street. The city returned to its rhythm, and slowly so did Emma. She reopened her studio 2 weeks later. No announcement, no big return, just unlocked the door, wiped the dust from the counter, and let the light in. The first client was a mother and her son. Nervous smiles, soft laughter, normal life. Emma realized she hadn't felt this steady in a long time. A single white lily sat in a glass vase on the shelf beside her camera. No note this time. She knew who it was from. Daniel stayed busy, but differently. No late-night drives, no whispered calls. He sold off pieces of his old operation quietly, legally. Harris pretended not to notice the speed at which things were untangled. They met for coffee, not in hidden rooms, but in public places with too much light and too many people. At first, Daniel didn't like that. Emma noticed. "You keep checking exits," she said once. "Habit," he replied. "You don't need it with me." He smiled slightly. "I'm learning." One evening, Daniel walked into Emma's studio just before closing. The bell above the door rang softly. She looked up and smiled. "You're late?" "I was seeing if you'd still be here." She raised an eyebrow. "And?" "I was hoping you would be." He handed her a cup of coffee. "Still the best," he said. She laughed quietly. They didn't talk about the past much, not because it hurt, but because it no longer owned them. When Daniel stayed the night, he didn't bring armor with him. When Emma woke up afraid from a dream, he didn't ask questions. He just stayed. One night, weeks later, they walked along the river. The city reflected in the water, calm and endless. "You know," Emma said, "people still ask me about that signal." Daniel glanced at her. "What do you tell them?" "That it works," she said. "But only if someone's willing to look." He stopped walking. "You changed a lot of things that night," he said. She shook her head. "So did you." He met her eyes. "I thought I was saving you," he admitted. "And now?" she asked. "And now," he said softly, "I think you saved me." She reached for his hand. This time, neither of them hesitated. Months later, Emma was invited to speak at a small community event. Nothing flashy, just a room full of people who wanted to listen. Daniel stood at the back, quiet, unnoticed. Emma didn't see him at first. She talked about fear, about silence, about asking for help without apology. When she finished, the room was quiet. Then applause, not loud, real. Afterward, Daniel handed her her coat. "You were good," he said. She smiled. "I was honest." They didn't make promises, no dramatic vows, no guarantees. They made choices every day, to stay, to listen, to protect without controlling, to love without fear. On a quiet evening, Emma sat at her window editing photos. Daniel cooked dinner in the kitchen, humming something low and unfamiliar. She watched him for a moment. Normal, safe, real. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. She froze for half a second, then opened it. "Thank you for speaking. I asked for help today." Someone listened. Emma's throat tightened. She typed back one word. "Good." She set the phone down and looked toward the kitchen. Daniel met her gaze. "Everything okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes," she said, "everything is." Somewhere in the city, life kept moving. People still looked away sometimes, but not always, because sometimes someone noticed, and sometimes that was enough.